Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of This Is Your Captain Speaking. Today I've got Tal Valler on with me, and Tal is the CMO over at Zoovu. And Zoovu, they do everything from business, or they do everything from a conversational commerce platform perspective, and they help customers find what they want with a human touch. Looking at a couple of very big clients that you guys work with over there, for example, Amazon, AT&T, Whirlpool, and Microsoft. So couple of small companies I would say you guys work with over there over at Zoovu. But your background, Tal, is in ABM, demand gen, product operations. And I liked one of the things you mentioned. You like to look at where creativity meets data to make smart decisions. So yeah. I come from a similar background, so I'm looking forward to speaking with you today. So welcome, mate.
Great to be here, Andy. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Tell us a little bit about Zoovu.
So like you said, we build tools to guide buyers and e-commerce websites and help them find what they need. Like you said, we have pretty big clients, 3M, Amazon. Essentially, our core platform enables understanding what's the context of product descriptions, what they mean, what they do, understanding what's the context of people's queries, whether it's search queries or chatbot interactions or going through a virtual assistant, and matching both of these data points in order to help them find the product that best answers their need, and hopefully get them to buy at the end and make the company that they're whose site they're on awesome. Get some money out of it.
Awesome. So I guess based on the number of or the large companies that you're working with, Zoovu is a relatively large company from an employee perspective.
Yeah, we're about 300 employees worldwide right now, and to be frank, this is actually an interesting point in time right now because up until recently I led marketing there, but I'm currently in my last couple of months in the company and moving on to a new project, which unfortunately I can't talk too much about right now.
Sure. That makes sense. That's okay, but I'm interested to hear a bit more about that in the future. Tell me a little bit about your marketing team over there at Zoovu. Who do you have on your team? What are the roles that you have?
So we have two marketing teams. One that's focused on the enterprise business and it's comprised of a product marketing leader, VP product marketing. We have the field marketing person that's dealing with events and all of that good stuff. Designer, marketing and revenue operations is teamed into one. And we have a designer on board, and then we have demand generation managers for the various regions. So one for the DACH region, one for the EMEA region, and one for the US.
Okay, so let's talk about those demand gen marketers and how because you have two different functions there. You've got your marketing rev ops and you've got your marketing or you've got your demand gen. So the rev ops, are they purely doing the crunching the numbers, understanding the numbers, reporting, etc., and then that's feeding back to demand gen, or how do those two groups work?
So RevOps is both the tech stack, managing the tech stack, and crunching the numbers for basically aligning finance, marketing, sales, and managerial reporting under one function. By the way, we also have another marketing function. So in my last couple of months, what I've been doing is we've been building another branch of the business focused on a PLG type play and focused on small to medium businesses. And it's basically been me and another person building up the marketing tech stack and everything from the ground up. So
okay. That's interesting. So you've mentioned tech stack a couple of times there. So you've mentioned it under the RevOps team and then also under this new PLG team. For people that are listening that don't know what PLG is, it's product-led growth. It's the new, I call it hype buzzword in tech nowadays, or bullshit bingo is what I call it sometimes.
It's the new ABM.
It is the new ABM. It's the ABM of 2022. So, but yeah, no, so product-led growth, we'll get to that now in a moment, but let's take a look at the tech stacks that you're mentioning. So let's talk about the tech stack on the other side of the business, which on the other side of the business, not the PLG side, but the one that the RevOps team are looking at, the marketing RevOps. So what does that consist of?
So the pure basic is we've got Salesforce as a CRM, HubSpot as our marketing automation, Google Analytics basically to look at the high level analytics and tie some of the attribution together. We have Apollo and Clearbit for lead enrichment, Never Bounce to do email cleansing and list cleansing and all that good stuff. Chorus for call recording, and we use something called Corporate Gift Lite for tchotchkes and sending out like direct mails and stuff.
Okay, so corporate gifts for direct mailers, so a similar company to the likes of Reach Desk or Sendoso, I guess.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so let's look at this. So this is actually so the tech stack that's managed by the marketing RevOps team is a tech stack that's consisting of both marketing and sales tools, correct?
Yep.
Got it. Do you in the marketing team, do you have sales development reps that are reporting into marketing, or are they purely on the sales side?
So Zoovu is a bit of a weird beast in that they're reporting into sales, and instead of having like a central management team for the SDRs, each account executive is assigned an SDR to work with them. Because of the type of customers being primarily enterprise, it makes much more sense to have this tag team of somebody leading, focused on one account as an SDR, or maybe like 5 accounts as an SDR, and working only those accounts with the account executive.
With the account executive. So the account executive is essentially the manager for the SDR. Is that correct?
Yep.
I like that model, but it's tricky. And it's tricky because account executives typically don't want to manage people, right?
It's tricky for a few reasons, right? So you've got account executives who don't really want to manage people, and their time is best spent on deals, but also from a marketing perspective, it makes it difficult because we want everybody to sing to the company hymn sheet, and we want people to be following up on the leads when they come in. And it's difficult when you have a lot of usually when I've worked in other companies, then the SDRs have been kind of like the bridge between marketing and sales. And they're the first person that somebody talks to when they come into your organization, when they want to meet with you as a company. So it makes it a little difficult on my end to police the messaging and all of that good stuff.
How many of these? How many SDRs do you have in total?
So I think about 10. Like I said, because I don't manage them.
Sure. But there's probably like 10 of these like mini teams, right? AESDR teams, which if they're working very closely together like that, what I've found is that they started coming up with their own messaging, which is then very different to the messaging that you're trying to push out as a marketing leader as well, which makes things incredibly difficult.
Yeah, but eventually, it's all about value, right? So if as a marketeer, I'm able to embed myself with the sales team and help them close deals and work with them on deals, then eventually it usually goes like this, right? I come with my set of slides and my messaging and everything into a meeting, and then they go, "Oh, I didn't know we have that. I'll start using that now."
Yeah, that's fair actually. So it's you just focus on doubling down on communication in front of those guys, and then that's how you're embedding yourself in that team. Okay, so like I like the tech stack that you have there on that side because it's super simple. So you've got the simple Salesforce to HubSpot integration, which is amazing out of box. Like anybody that's like, I've spoken with many people and I work with a lot of companies that just have HubSpot as their CRM, which is fine, but you outgrow that in my opinion. To have that match with Salesforce and HubSpot is really good. I'd always recommend that even over the Salesforce own marketing tools. I would say the HubSpot plus Salesforce match in my experience has always worked very nicely. And then just like it's pretty clean then what you're doing. So getting more data from Apollo and Clearbit, which is just getting more data onto the data that you already have. And then some of the email tools and also corporate gifting stuff, and then the Chorus as a call recording tool from an SDR perspective, understanding what's being said there. Are you getting insights from Chorus yourself as a marketer?
Yeah. Actually, I was the one that pushed initially. Like I think all marketers, I pushed for Gong. We ended up with Chorus, which is just as good, essentially. I pushed for it because there's 2 things that it helps me do as a marketer. One is messaging validation, right? When I actually get somebody to use the messaging that I want them to use, then I can listen in and see how people respond to it, and also pick up like ideas from these calls about what the prospects are actually interested in. and second, it's a policing tool, right? So I listen in calls, and then I'll come and tag like sections and say, you said this differently than what we've got this on our website, or we've got this like in our corporate decks and everything. So
for sure,
yeah.
for sure. Just for people that are listening that are not familiar with those tools, so Tal just mentioned Chorus is the tool that they're using, or Gong is another tool, which is basically, I think if you're in the tech space and you don't know who Gong is, I'd question if you should be in the tech space. But Gong is again, it's a tool that basically records calls and gives you insights in terms of what's resonating, what types of messages are resonating with people, gives you time lengths, it gives you all types of insights from the calls that are being made by your sales org that will then influence how you can then go out and structure your messaging for marketing, but also for sales calls in the future, what things are actually working on the client side or on the prospect side. So, okay, we've talked about the tech stack there on the RevOps side. So let's call it on the enterprise side of the business. Let's take a look at it on the PLG side, so the product-led side. Can you give us a bit of insight there?
So actually, that's very interesting, because I think when we led up to this call, you asked me about like trends and things that are missing, and what I've noticed while working on the PLG side is that there isn't really any CRM that's geared towards PLG. Most CRMs are built for long cycle deals and for processes and opportunities, which doesn't really happen in product-led growth. And this is a gap I've been trying to fill by like combining and like doing all sorts of hacks. But so for that side of the business, we're using ActiveCampaign as the marketing automation / partially CRM tool. I've been super surprised by the quality and level of service that you're getting out of these guys for like a fraction of what you would pay for the bigger technologies like HubSpot, Salesforce, and so forth. I've been using also SendGrid as a backup for ActiveCampaign. So SendGrid is now they're owned by Twilio, but it's an email market. It also has an email marketing and automation tool and forms and all of that good stuff. So it's pretty useful. And then most of the rest of the tech stack looks kind of similar to what we have with the enterprise side of business, but a lot more focus on Google Analytics and building like very complex dashboards on top of Google Analytics to understand the flow of customers, where they came from, what they engaged with, and so forth. And we also use Yandex Metrica for taking videos of user sessions and visitors to the website and see what they're engaging with and when and how.
Are you using a BI tool to crunch that data then in the background? So you mentioned that you're looking at attribution and things.
We do, but I have a data scientist that's doing that on our data team, and I honestly don't know what they're using. I think they're using Click or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so a quick question for you now. So you're using ActiveCampaign as your main sort of, let's call it CRM / email sending tool and then with SendGrid as a backup, correct?
Yeah.
So why aren't you using HubSpot? If you have HubSpot for the other side of the business, why don't you just use it for both?
I don't know if you want to have this on the podcast, but essentially the price difference is phenomenal, right? HubSpot, for the number of contacts that we have, would probably be about, I think, $60,000, if not more, per year. And with ActiveCampaign, we're talking about maybe $5,000 per year.
No, it's absolutely fine to have that here, by the way. I'm glad to discuss this, because I had an idea in terms of why. It's because of your customer acquisition costs need to stay much lower on the PLG side of the business rather than the enterprise side of the business. So that was what I thought, but I'm glad you've confirmed my thought.
Exactly. It's not, and frankly, like the number of functionalities that I'm losing is not that big, and I won't be using them, right? I don't do ABM with PLG, right?
Sure. So you're not considering swapping out HubSpot for ActiveCampaign on the enterprise side of the business, right?
I think, again, this is probably going to happen after my time, but this is a decision that could be on the table for the team after I'm gone. It's again, it depends on how how much of a power user are you for HubSpot and what functionalities are there, are you going to use. HubSpot is awesome in terms of it's trying to be everything for everybody, and it's trying to expand itself across the value chain and to put on like a CRM, put on a conversational commerce piece with the chatbot, adding on like social media scheduling and listening, adding in all sorts of features that are cool. But personally, one as a marketer, I think we're going through the same process that e-commerce is going through with headless commerce and trying to build our own tech stack. And I don't want to have my balls in a vice and be committed to one vendor for everything. And then once they decide to up the price, then I'm stuck, right? So
yeah,
as a customer, I don't like as a vendor, I do like being sticky, but as a customer, I don't like having like sticky vendors.
I completely agree with that. And I think we've seen a lot of that in the e-commerce space, as e-commerce as an industry, for example, and the companies that are serving into the e-commerce as the industry in the tech space. So for example, let's take the bigger marketing cloud, Salesforce, Oracle, Adobe, etc. If you look into that specific space, marketing automation for e-commerce, there are hundreds of providers, but then you've got these bigger cloud platforms which have just come in and started purchasing all of the smaller ones and basically adding them to their stack, with the thought being able, we'll make customers more sticky, right? But you're seeing on the brand side that people are like, no, we don't want that. And that's why you have still 100 vendors in the same space, right? Competing with the bigger cloud platforms, like tiny businesses and companies are saying, you know what, I actually want to work with the smaller company rather than going with Salesforce that can solve all my needs, just because some stuff doesn't work as well as that one company that's just focused on doing that, right?
It depends also on your character, and your people. Like I'm relatively technically savvy, and I know how to, like, I can hack things if I need to. And like some of these platforms, ActiveCampaign, again, I've been surprised by the level of capabilities that you get, and I'm starting to sound like a spokesperson, but
how much are ActiveCampaign paying you? Are you moving to ActiveCampaign? Is that the
no? I honestly don't know, because I haven't tried any of the other I've looked at a few other smaller vendors, but I'm sure they also offer the same level of capabilities. And these younger, hungrier companies that will integrate with a lot more don't have like these like weird oddities like you have between Salesforce and HubSpot, that they turn off and turn on features as they fight with one another.
Sure. No, it's going to be interesting to see which way ActiveCampaign goes, because initially they had started out as a company that would sell into the SMB space. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you've actually brought in a different use case that maybe their business is working towards, which is in that product-led growth space, which is even for companies like Zoovu, for example, that have quite an extensive enterprise business and are not an SMB, right? Zoovu are not an SMB in terms of their size, revenue, etc. However, that product-led growth model that you're looking to implement is not feasible from a cost perspective using one of the bigger cloud platforms, but actually looking at an ActiveCampaign that can offer pricing that's actually be applicable to that product-led growth model. Super interesting. If they're going to start to move in that direction, they might well do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, in terms of customer acquisition, right, they acquire me as a small side business that way. And I didn't even have to give a second thought into testing them out, because the price point to get started is so small, right? And the process of getting onboarded is so friendly that once that's done, to get into the enterprise business, you've already got like an advocate, and you've already got like a part of the business working on it. So
For sure. Okay, well, HubSpot, watch out. But okay, well, look, Tal, this is all the time that we have for today. I really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you, and what's the best place to reach out to you if people want to?
I'm a LinkedIn fan, so I'm always on LinkedIn. Revenue Collective, now Pavilion. I'm always there as well. And feel free to reach out.
Perfect. I'll share all your details when we push this out as well, Tal, so that people can reach out to you directly. Tal, it's been great speaking with you, mate. And this has been another episode of This Is Your Captain Speaking. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Hey, Tal, thanks a million. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.